Continuing our coverage now on General Motors filing for bankruptcy.
Let's go back down to Rick Albin at the live desk where experts are answering your questions. Rick?
There's so many things we need to talk about. Let's first talk about the bankruptcy with Derek Whitty from Cooley Law School. We talked about this a few weeks ago. You and I privately talked about the complexity of it. But just talking to you a few minutes ago and in our conversation just now, it looks like that the administration and GM may have found a way to move this through more quickly than anybody thought.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is they're going to try to get the court to allow them to sell all of the profitable assets
They've
of GM.
already got the agreement written up.
They do. They've already got the agreement written up. The motion should be filed within a couple days, and we could get a ruling from the court in way less than 90 days on freeing the new GM. And because the debt holders got in line, because the UAW got in line, and because Obama's taken a strong position, I'm happy to admit that I've gone 180, and I think it's possible to do it quickly.
This is still about selling cars. What does GM have to do now to sell cars? You got a company you got two big companies in bankruptcy. What do you have to do?
Well, you're going to have to discount the car, essentially, because what you're looking at, all things being equal, there are many other automakers where you can go out and buy a vehicle, and they're not in bankruptcy. So now that GM's in bankruptcy, the issue I've always had with bankruptcy is what happens to the consumer and what happens to your pricing power in terms of the new vehicle. The purchasing or the pricing power is going to go down. If it doesn't, then sales and market share have to go lower, which I think is going to happen.
And then the long-term thing, what happens to all of the profits? What happens to the $50 billion in taxpayer money? We're going to be talking about that as we continue here. You can talk to our experts right now at Cover It Live at woodtv.com. Go to Twitter, Rick Albin, all one word, lowercase. You can send questions directly to me. And your money, your questions. If you have questions you want me to ask on the air, get them in here right now. woodtv.com. Cover It Live right now. Talk to the experts. Back to you.
Continuing our coverage now on the General Motors filing for bankruptcy.
This news obviously affecting Michigan deeply, including many here in West Michigan. We're staying on top of the ripple effect from the filing, from retiree benefits to the state economy, and now how much GM stock is worth.
And for more answers to your questions, we turn it back over to Rick Albin at the live desk. Rick?
Eric Merkel's our auto analyst. You were just talking about the conversation we had with Governor Granholm talking about green jobs. What did you say about that?
Well, I'm all in favor of green jobs, but I don't think we're going to be able to create them nearly fast enough to offset all the losses that we're going to see as a result from GM and its supply base, and then also the dealers.
It's going to be a tough summer, as she has pointed out.
No question.
What happens to all the cars on the lots, all the inventory out there? We just got a call a minute ago. Somebody said, what happens to all those cars?
Well, there's a lot of cars on the lots, but GM, keep in mind, they are still operating through bankruptcy, so the dealers will continue selling cars as they normally would. The problem is going to be the pricing power that the dealers have, as consumers will be looking for buying GM vehicles at rock bottom prices.
And let's be honest, that's a problem for dealers, that's a problem for GM, may not be a problem for consumers, however. Let's talk a little bit, Derek Whitty from Cooley Law School, about this bankruptcy. Does it concern you that the executive branch seems to be working so closely or perhaps trying to direct the judicial branch as we get into this bankruptcy?
Yes, I think they're constitutional law problems. I said I'm hopeful that this will go quickly, but the way it's happening is a little bit frightening. The government is basically saying to this federal judge who drew this case, approve this plan, which is very aggressive, or we're not going to fund this, and there'll be no GM. And I've never seen a president give a federal judge an ultimatum.
I'm going to talk more about that. In fact, we got a lot more to talk about. You can talk with our experts. Cover It Live at woodtv.com. You can go to Twitter, Rick Albin, one word, lowercase, or you can go to Your Money, Your Questions and send us questions. We'll ask them right here on the air. We've got a lot more coverage of the GM bankruptcy coming up. Now back to you.